Hey, welcome everybody. This is the Network Marketing Insider, number 220, number 234 by Two Cool IBOs. And this is Own Your Life New Op Day on March 14th, 2016. I want to say welcome to all the network marketers. I want to say welcome to all of the Swiss Gold Global family. I want to say welcome to anyone who's interested in getting into network marketing, no matter what the vehicle is, but especially those interested in Swiss Gold Global. And did you know that by the time that most people take out all the time that you spend sleeping and all the time that you spend working and all the time that you spend commuting to work and all the time that you spend running around every day doing all that stuff that just has to get done, that at the end of the day, most people only have like 1 or maybe 2 hours for themselves to do the things that they like to do? And even if they had more time to do them, would they have the money? Well, we have found a way for you to own your life by starting a home-based business that is so easy. It doesn't involve any selling, and the best part, it doesn't take very much of your time. I don't suppose you would know anybody who'd be interested in something like that, would you? That, my friends, is a 45-second presentation. That is as hard as you will ever work. And that is also, well, that's not as hard as you'll ever work. There's one more piece to as hard as you'll ever work, and that's what today's chapter is all about. Today's chapter in the Own Your Life Plan 45-second presentation by DonandNancyFailla, the how-to guide to network marketing successfully. And I am Paul Romero. I am here in Phoenix, Arizona on a gorgeous looking morning out there. It feels nice. Hanging out here. I got to put some stuff up, and while I do that, I'm going to introduce my upline, John Leifster, who is also, I know, hanging out in Phoenix, Arizona, because that's how he got me involved with this. So, but John, say hello to everybody.
Good morning. Welcome to the hangout. Today is March 14th, and what we do on New Op Days. For those of you who are just maybe joining us for the first time, Paul and I don't like to use the word Monday because it has kind of a negative connotation in our society. You know, people have to get up and go to work on Monday and they have the Monday blues. Well, me and Paul are always excited on Mondays. It's a new opportunity. It's a whole fresh start to a whole new session. And we always start off each and every New Op Day morning on one of these hangouts at 8 o'clock. Getting into the Own Your Life book by DonandNancyFailla, and welcome network marketers. And actually, I just want to say that anybody that is an entrepreneur, anybody looking to create more efficient systems in their business, whether you're in network marketing, whether you're in wholesale real estate, whether you own a paint business, as I own all three of those businesses I just mentioned, this book will help you to build a more successful organization. And that's why we invite anybody out there really that's an entrepreneur, whether you're interested in the network marketing business model for yourself or not. If you're in business, in any sort of business, this is a great hangout to be on, because Paul and I discuss a lot of topics that cross over many boundaries and work for many different businesses. And this book right here is just a simple system or a guideline for creating a business to give you back more time and to give you and help you make more money. So with that, I am also hanging out in Phoenix, Arizona. Haven't looked outside yet today. I'm assuming it's a beautiful day. I mean, March 14th in Phoenix, Arizona. I mean, this is one of the most beautiful places to be. The weather is just always spectacular this time of year. And with that, welcome. Today we're going to Paul had prefaced this chapter last week by saying we're going to be discussing something very tasty. So why don't we get into what all that is about?
Yeah, and you know what? Like real quickly, like John was saying there, that the network marketing model that this book outlines does cross over. It transcends all businesses, because realistically, this network marketing model is the core of all businesses. And we ourselves are building our own real estate business around this same model. So I just want to express, impress upon the power of that. So before we get started, I just want to invite everybody to please let us know where you're hanging out from. We always like to know who's here and who's with us and where you're hanging from. So go ahead and jump in and do that. And this chapter that we're getting into, chapter number 9 here, is called The Sizzle Sells the Steak. It's napkin presentation number 8. And he says in here that he often, he sometimes will use, another title that he'll use for this presentation is called The Blazes. I kind of like The Sizzle Sells the Steak because, how many times have you ever been out there driving down the road and all of a sudden you're just going along and you're like, oh man, that smells good. and you don't even know where it's coming from. And that's sort of how this Sizzle Sells the Steak presentation works here. What this presentation is all about is the fact that it's all about getting together, in small groups when you are, especially when you are talking to new prospective sponsors into the business, whether they be yours directly or they be, those of your people in your downline. And that's what it's all about, is getting together a number of people in the group is what this chapter is all about, because it's all about, building excitement and building momentum and building the enticement, building the anticipation, building that, oh man, that smells good feeling inside of something. I mean, when you're driving down the road and you smell that it's usually like French fries or something, but doesn't it make you really want to like pull in somewhere and get something to eat? And that's what this chapter is all about.
Oh, sorry, I was sipping a coffee. Yeah, that is what this chapter is all about. And he basically starts off this chapter here equating napkin presentation number 8. And when you start out presenting this concept to people in your organization, he likes to use the analogy of throwing logs on a campfire. And so when you have one log, you have nothing. If anyone who's ever gone out camping and built a flame, built a fire, you collect a bunch of little twigs to start your fire, your kindling, if you will, and then you start throwing logs. And if you throw one log on there, you're not going to have a very big fire. It's not going to last too long, and eventually it's just going to turn into nothing. But then when you throw 2 logs, now you got a little something going. You got a little bit more wood for the kindling to start burning. You got 2 logs on there, and now you have a flame. You don't have quite a fire yet, but now you've got something. Now you got a little something started. Then you put 3 logs on there, and then you've got a fire. And then so it's building up, right? 3 logs. Now you got a little fire going. This is a lot better than 1 or 2 logs. You throw that 4th log on there, and now you have a blaze. Now you have a camping fire, a big blaze that people want to kind of flock to and stand around and share stories and talk. And he goes into the book, into this napkin presentation, explaining that like people are the same way. When you're meeting someone with your sponsor in a restaurant, for example, and you arrive first, there isn't much energy right there at the table. You're sitting there by yourself, waiting for your sponsor to come in. But then once they arrive, and then there's the 2 of you, and the energy picks up. I mean, this is just a natural thing. When you go out with your friends, it's the same thing. You get there early to meet your friend at a bar. You're sitting there. You're kind of a little awkward. You're looking around for someone to talk to. The energy level's a little here right now. Once your first friend arrives at the bar, to come hang out, then it's like, oh, Joe's here. Yes. Instantly your energy level rises. You start to get excited. The conversation flows. Then your next friend shows up, next friend, so forth and so on. And then as more and more people arrive, there's more and more energy in the situation. And then when your 4th or 5th friend comes along, then it really gets going. Then you really get the blaze and everyone's excited and talking and cracking jokes in that social setting. But here in this context here, what we're talking about in the book That's when we get into the Sizzle session, when we can get about 4 people sitting down in a coffee shop or a restaurant, that momentum, that energy, that mastermind of people talking and coming together. That's really where your energy levels are going to build up. And that begins to attract other people in the room to kind of, who are these people all excited talking about business over there, and kind of overhearing you. I am jumping a little bit ahead, but the basic concept is just that. The more logs you throw onto a fire, the bigger fire you're going to have, the bigger flame, the blaze that's going to attract people, and people are that same way. And the more people you can gather, the more energy you'll have in that room.
Yeah, because he goes on from there. He goes on from there to express how, you know, when you have somebody that's interested in your network marketing business, but they're kind of skeptical, it's kind of like having a wet log to introduce to this this whole fire, these whole different levels of fire that John's talking about here. And it's like, if you have, and then another thing too, before I get into that, is like, you know, at the very beginning you talked about having just one log, and how you got some twigs together and you got a little fire going, then you laid a log on there, and while you got the twigs and stuff, while they're burning underneath, you know, you probably get a little bit of a flame going on that log, and it starts to burn a little bit. But then once those twigs sort of fizzle out, that flame that started to grow on that log, all of a sudden will die out. And once that flame dies out, now you're just left with a charred log, right? Now you're just left with a scarred prospect. And these are the people that you know, that you may talk to out there, that when you start talking about network marketing would be like, oh yeah, I tried that once, you know. And these are the people who were introduced to the business, that never got into a Sizzle session, that came into this, you know, joined the flame of a twig, so to speak, and ended up walking away as nothing but a charred log. And so the second factor that I was going to is the skeptical people, and these could be some of those people. You know, maybe something that you've said to them, maybe it's been long enough, maybe that, you know, that scar has healed, and these people, you know, they're like, okay, well, I tried it once, but, you know, I'd be willing to listen to it again. You know, they're coming in skeptical. They've already got this, you know, I'm pretty sure this shit doesn't work, but I'll take a look kind of an attitude. And then you've also always just got the other people that are just like, you know, I've heard of that, but I've heard some bad things, yada, 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 you know, whatever, I'll come in, I'll check it out. So the people that are coming in with any sort of skepticism whatsoever are considered in this campfire scenario as a wet log. Now, you all know that wet logs don't really burn. You know, you could have, but when you bring a wet log and you set a wet log next to a blaze, or even on a blaze, it will eventually dry out and start to burn. Now, if you take this wet log and you're a brand new person, you know, you're like the twig. When you're brand new, you're like a good-sized twig that's burning with fire. And if you just take one log and you throw it on top of that twig, just like we talked about, okay, it might spark up, it might start to go, but then eventually it's going to go out. But now, if you take that twig and you put a wet log on it, I mean, you're doused. It's over right now. You're not even gonna. It's not even gonna take a chance to even start that burn and that char. It's just, you're just going to be putting it out right away. So that's why it's important to, you know, have these meetings with potential people, to have other people in the group, so you've got that energy up, so you've got that excitement, so you've got that anticipation that people could build. Because doing it by yourself is like being the solo log, and you just don't have that energy there. And as soon as somebody starts to, you know, oppose what you have to say, or, you know, negate anything that you have to say, you know, you're new at this stuff, so it's like, you know, you're not really too sure yourself. But if you have confident people with you at the table, then, you know, you can shut up and they can step in and they can answer those questions for these folks, and start and continue to build the excitement instead of putting out the fire.
You know, this is such a simple chapter, but such a kind of important concept. I'm going to fall back a little bit to something he talks about here prior to the whole idea of the wet logs, which Paul stated perfectly. Think of it this way, and it begins to make more sense. People are just like this analogy, you know, people are, the negative people are like throwing a wet log on a fire, and it takes sometimes a really blazing fire in order to dry out that log and get it burning. So he kind of goes into that whole thing about the wet logs by saying, you know what, and I'm going to read right from the book because we can do that here. This is network marketing. It's okay to cheat. But he says, so you want to get together with your sponsor and share the napkin presentations with one or two of your downline people and get them sizzling and excited about what can happen. And a good place, and then Paul's going to take it from here after I get through this and explain why this is in the book here, this recommendation, that a good place to do this is in a restaurant. Pick a time when the restaurant is least busy, around 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. You may want to set up a schedule for yourself so your people will know where you'll be at various times during the week. It's as if everybody is out together gathering wood for the fire or blaze. Let me explain a little something about how this works. This is great because you set up a public sizzle session and let people know where you're going to be, and you want to have, as this napkin presentation recommends, at least 4. We've literally gone out before where we've had 4 people, and it always hasn't been about network marketing, but go out, start talking about business and real estate and success, and people in the restaurant overhear that conversation, eavesdrop on it, sense your energy, and then want to know, what are you guys talking about over there? It's a great way to prospect too. The little piece about letting your team know where you're going to be throughout the week. Paul and I actually have a unique opportunity here in Phoenix because we belong to a club called the 2% Club. We've been going down there for about 3 years, and the club started off with like 30 people. At one time, I think it was down to 10 at an IHOP, and now it's up to like 70 people plus every single week. And I bring this up because we have the opportunity for when people want to meet us, we say you should come down and meet us at a Tuesday at a 2% Club on Tuesday. It's the club's from 8 to 9:30, and then from 9:30 until noon, 1 o'clock sometimes, depending on who's there and what your schedule is like for the day. It could very well, the networking portion of meeting with 70 people is so powerful, especially after you get 70 people. We sit down and we listen to our mentor sizzle them. I say that because he's there talking about personal development, getting them excited for us. By the time we're done with this hour-and-a-half meeting, 70 people energized in a room, and then Paul and I have people that have come down to this meeting specifically to meet with us. They're saying yes to whatever opportunity Paul and I are offering them before we even tell them what the opportunity is. That's the power of a sizzle session. People sense the energy. They see the excitement of the people involved. The people in the restaurant, you'll prospect this way because they'll overhear you. They'll want to know more. And you're selling people or getting people to buy your opportunity without selling them, I should say, without selling them, just by getting them excited and presenting information that leads them to saying yes to the opportunity without even having to sell them on the opportunity. It's a great and a powerful tool. And I'm going to toss it back to Paul to maybe just clarify a little bit there because I feel like I ran through that information really quickly.
Oh no, you ran through it perfectly. It's I mean that room that you talk about, that is a that's a free sizzling right there on the barbecue, going hot, and right there. We just bring people around there. We say, ooh, get a whiff of this and take a smell of that and listen to it and hear it sizzling. Doesn't it look good? And doesn't it smell good? And don't you want to have a bite of that? Well, guess what? Hey, boom, here you go. I got one right here for you. I mean, that's kind of how it goes. It's pretty awesome. That is a unique opportunity, but that is how. That's exactly how these little sizzle sessions can work as well too. Because if you have one person who's pretty knowledgeable about what's going on here, That's all it takes. You just need one person in the group to have the knowledge to carry the conversation, regardless of wherever it goes, at any point in time. And then you have the power of, somebody who's below them that has some knowledge and has ideas and can throw information in there. And then you have the power of the next person below them who has introduced the person that's come to the table, that they're trying to bring into the organization. And they're both in an arena now where they can both, where they can learn. And the new person that comes in sees that, hey, the guy that brought me in here, he admittedly told me he didn't know very much. He's sitting here, he's learning from these guys right now. They both have, some good information here. This is awesome. I really like this, and on you go. And a big plus to how that works is that it's a very funny statement that he makes in here. He says that just having someone with you can make a difference. It gives your sponsor someone to bounce conversation off of. And he says, I could want Joe to get a message. And if I'm talking directly to Joe, he might not really even hear what the heck I'm saying. But if I'm talking to Carol, I know that Joe is listening. He says it's amazing how most people will get more out of conversations that they listen in on compared to those when someone's actually talking directly to them. So while somebody's sitting there at your Sizzle session, and you're not necessarily always talking directly to them. You're sitting there, you're talking about business, you're talking about how everything goes. You keep these Sizzle sessions specifically about the business and improving the business and working the business. And while you're talking to, Steve or Joe or Carol, that other person is listening in on this stuff going, wow, these guys are really working together. They're a team. I could be joining a team here. I would legitimately be getting help. Joe just solved Steve's problem, that sort of thing. Those sorts of conversations really build the fire, really dry out those wet logs, and really get people excited about wanting to join your team. And with that, John, I think that's pretty much kind of the end of the whole thing here. If you want to close us out, give us a final word and close us out.
I'm glad you got to that final little piece because I thought that was very important. I was hoping we'd have a minute to get to that. What Paul said right there about, you come in with another person to meet your sponsor. And for whatever reason, if he was talking directly to the person you brought in without anybody else sitting around, they're less likely to really listen and pay attention. I don't know why human psychology works that way, but it does. So when you have more people in a Sizzle session, then it's like everybody looking into something they want to be part of is the idea there. If I'm talking to Joe, Larry, and Sue want to listen in and eavesdrop in on that conversation. And then the chapter just closes out here with the whole idea about energy and eavesdroppers. So I think we kind of wrap this chapter up real nicely. So with that, my final thought is to go out there, start applying these concepts. If you're just watching us for the first time today, if you check out either wealthhealth.swissgoldglobal.com or freedomforlife.swissgoldglobal.com, you can go ahead on there. There's a link on the website to order yourself a copy of this book. And hey, maybe you don't want to order it yet. You want to see what it's all about. Well, I certainly invite you to go on the past Hangouts and watch, because Paul and I have been going through this book, each chapter, each week, over and over again for the last year plus. And once we complete the book, we just start from the beginning. Or you can visit ownyourlife.com and you can read the first 4 chapters of the book for free. So go ahead, check those things out. With that, we always end this hangout with the Napoleon Hill prayer, which goes, "O universe, I ask not for more rich, but for more wisdom in which to make better use of the riches that have been given to me at birth, consisting in the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever ends I may desire." And with that, we'll see you back here. Join us on Wednesday morning for Website Wisdom Wednesdays.
That's right. And I got to say, just as we promised last week, that was pretty darn tasty.